offline for a while here, but a bunch of stuff's going on. So I moved. We're in the process of building out in Irwin, Idaho. We're renting for the winter because we couldn't get our shop up in time. Super hard to get a general contractor right these days. And we finally landed with one who seems like a good dude, but we're not going to have anything until spring probably. So we rented this spot, and I've got this tiny little 2-car detached garage thing to do this work in. But I'm finally resuming. So I've been not working on this. It's been in storage for about 3 months, which has been hard for me to sit around and not work on it. Finally got it kind of back in a position where I can start working on it. Shop's really small. I'm still dealing with like all my stuff, but we have enough room. I can walk all the way around the Scout. I can't show the whole Scout in the video hardly. Corner, and there's some workbenches, but it's a little tight. We're gonna have to do some clearing out and organizing things, but right now I just wanted to show you that this thing's all together. I drove it back up onto the ramp. It's all kind of in a semblance of what it's going to look like when it's done. But and then the other thing that happened is went to a car show yesterday, and I knew if I went to a car show I was going to want to repaint this thing, and now I do. So patina may not survive. We'll have to see. I may end up painting it, but we're not there yet at all. First we're going to get it running, and we're going to get what we have protected. My dashboard kind of fell apart a little bit here. So like that's kind of coming off. It kind of got bleached up on the top from the sun. I was actually curious about how it was going to do. So that's good to know that it has this trouble. I'm going to have to figure out how to condition it properly. You can see it's like all lightened up on top, but I don't have it actually all the way in either. It was all this rush job to get this thing out of here, out here. So, today I'm going to finish up the wiring, but first I'm going to clear out the back of all the parts. I'm going to remove this guy again because it's too heavy for these mounts. The mounts are rusted out. We're going to have to fix that. It's going to be a little more welding, but that's going to come after I get the electrical and the interior done. Spare tires not super important to me at this particular moment. So yeah, I do need to get the weather stripping all in though, so I still need to pull this bumper off. It's kind of one of the things I had left to do to get the bottom seal for the weather stripping in. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Hey guys, so this is some of the older footage that we have from before. Unfortunately, we lost a fair amount. My iPhone got lost, and so I'm missing some segments of narration. But here I'm working on doing the headlight switch, and also like the windshield wipers and wiring in the heater core, or the heater controls. Basically, there's a lot of different steps here, and I just want to make sure that if anyone has any questions about any of these particular parts, just throw something in the comments. But I think we've got a fair amount of different switches and things. You just kind of have to follow schematics. There's just so many things going on here. But basically, there was some kind of tomfoolery with the heater, and I ended up having to actually smack the heater fan with a hammer. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working for a little while, and I finally kind of got that dialed in. Actually later than this footage, but yeah. So I'm replacing all my marker lights with these LEDs. So that's the old light. That's the LED. I'll show you the difference right now, if I can. Oh, that's original. Interesting. Well, this one worked. So that's the new one. And that's an original. If you can tell the difference. They're not super crazy different, but they're brighter. And they should last longer. Gotta figure out why this one's not working though.
A few minutes later.
Well, looks like we just had a finicky connection, which isn't great. It's this is one of the older sockets. So I replaced the ones in the front. The rears I left alone because they weren't rotting, but it looks like I might need to replace them anyways because see that? So that probably won't work consistently at all. So I'll have to get that. But yeah, so that's the new one versus an old one. So you can kind of tell it's not like the most amazing, huge improvement, but it is better. I'm sure at night it'll look even better.
So I've decided that now that I've got this thing kind of cleaned up a little bit, I do a bunch of maintenance to shop vacs and things, but now I've got this kind of vacuumed out again. I need to go get wood and some things from Home Depot, so rather than stop and do that, because my wife's got the baby and they're down for a nap, so I have some time here. What I think I'll do is I will go ahead and finish clearing out the getting the old wire harness out. I never did that, and I may actually pull the old emergency brake out too, because that needs to go. So I think I'm just gonna finish kind of cleaning up all that crap, and then maybe I'll get this other wire. I have to run a black ground wire from the head end here up here towards the dash all the way back for the dome light, because that was the one where the wiring diagram doesn't really show that very well, so I didn't know I needed it, because most of the lights and things take ground from the chassis. That's not how this one works, because they have to go back to the switch together, the hot and the ground, which is not usual in cars. Typically you just have everything ties to ground, and then you make your brake connection at the other point. But these are actually inverted, so they run the switch runs them at constant hot and then breaks their ground, which is like, why does everything, why would you switch that up? But that's actually a Chevy switch, so it's actually how I guess Chevys and most cars back then did that, and they may still, I don't know. But anyways, all right, so what I've done here is I've got the black wire running. This guy runs all the way back to the dome light back here. I haven't terminated it yet, but we'll get there. So the way it's gonna work is up in here, I've got, our cab lights, which are on both sides. And this little pigtail that comes from the switch, and the switch, when you click that, should turn on the dome light. And so the way this is gonna work is when you do this, what you're doing is you're grounding that port on the switch to the chassis. So this is coming to the chassis now. When I turn it off, it's not. So this guy has a hot that's running to it, and I'll show you kind of how that's working. All right, so this guy goes from the battery basically to permanently to both this port, this guy here. It goes across to the other side as well, and then it also goes up to the dome light. And you can see these lights have this guy here floating there. And the way that works is I've got this guy, this little one back here. Yeah. So this one here actually goes to the door switch, this guy. And the way that works is when the door's shut, that's depressed, which disconnects the grounding to the chassis, and when the door's open, it makes contact. And so what happens is right now this thing is, door is open, this switch is a little faulty, so I may have to replace it at some point here. But with the door open, if you make this contact, you get light. And I'm getting kind of shitty light because it's not a good connection, but that is making that light up. That kills it, right? Then if I show you the switch part of it, so the switch is off right now, and if I turn on the switch there, so that's a good connection. So that's what the other one actually looks like too, and it's good. But so that's the switch on the dash. So all I have to do is tie this, and that all together with the black light to go back to the dome and the other side, and tie the other side in the same way over there. And then we will have all the lights come on whenever one door opens or the dome light, or you switch this switch on. So if you're in the car, you switch this on, it'll turn on all the lights. If you open a door, it'll turn on all the lights. That's how it's supposed to work. And we're gonna get that done. And then when we're done with that, I actually just need to get these dash lights and like new bulbs and stuff, and then wire in the radio, and then electrical is done. Other than obviously like dressing all this up, making it pretty. So, okay. All right, guys. So, sorry, we're coming to this a little later, but I just wanted to show, like, I got the rest of this wired in. So, this is actually for the subwoofer. It comes down to a Molex, a couple other connections. Rear speaker wire, getting ready for interior here, but just wanted to show. So what I did is I dressed it all in so that it didn't interfere with any of my pedals. That's the most important thing, right? Like, you don't want to have anything rubbing or it's all going to be a problem. It's not as clean as I would have liked, but it does work. I might do a little bit more, but it's actually pretty good. It's all on a flat plane. It's all pretty dressed in. Everything's working. We got our radio in. I know I didn't show that, I apologize. But this is a really cool radio. I'll show you more in a future video once we get this dash all finished up. But this is all working. One thing to know is that I was having some issues with my turn signals when they were coming on, or when I turn on the power to them, just in general. What was happening is I would just get this, whenever I turn on the headlights or the running lights, these lights, the turn signal lights, would actually just come on all the time. And what I figured out is that I had a bad ground on my actual, on both of my actual turn signal buckets. And once I fixed that, I just ground them down with some, with my wire brush, and got all the connections a lot better, put some of that electro gel in there. And since that fixed the problem, but having a bad ground on your turn signal lights can create a weird short issue with those bulbs. So like, they all worked right, but the running lights wouldn't work. That was the one part that wouldn't function, and the running lights were being diverted basically to these lights here. So those were always on once the headlights were on. It was a weird issue. But that's going to be it for the part 3. You know, if there's any parts that I miss, I know that the video is a little choppy here, but if there's any parts I missed, you have any questions, just throw a comment. I can get back to you, and I might even publish like a little short just explaining the part that you need. So thanks, and you know, we're gonna keep going. We're making good progress. I've got a lot more content kind of filmed here, and there's gonna be some choppy stuff from the original kind of in-betweens, right? More from when I moved to here. But it's gonna get better once we get into these more fluid videos. I've got a couple of good ones on some of these seals I've done, and the e-brake and some of these different parts that I've done here. Are a little easier to follow. But we're gonna get them all done, and I'm excited to get this thing rolling. We're getting really close to finishing, and hopefully some of this is useful for you.